Welcome to the channel Old Glory Coins. What if I told you that the loose change jingling in your pocket right now could secretly be worth $17 million? Most people walk past pennies on the street, toss them in jars, or hand them over without a second thought. But one particular Lincoln cent from 2001 has collectors, investors, and treasure hunters across the globe in an absolute frenzy. This isn't just a coin, folks. This is a life-changing discovery waiting to happen. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for. Now, before we dive deep into this 2001 Lincoln penny phenomenon, I need you to stick around because after this coin, we're going to reveal another Lincoln cent from 1967 that will absolutely blow your mind. And trust me, what you're about to learn about that one will leave you speechless, so don't go anywhere. But first, let's talk about this 2001 treasure. The 2001 Lincoln penny. Yes, a coin that's barely over 2 decades old, has reached astronomical valuations at auction, with the absolute finest known examples selling for up to $17 million. Now I know what you're thinking. How is that even possible? How does a modern penny become worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes? Well, buckle up, because the story behind this coin is absolutely incredible. The year 2001 was a fascinating time for American coinage. The Philadelphia and Denver mints were churning out billions of Lincoln cents to meet the demand of everyday commerce. And for the most part, these were just ordinary pennies doing ordinary jobs in cash registers, piggy banks, and parking meters across America. But here's where things get interesting. During the production process at the Philadelphia Mint, something extraordinary happened. A series of catastrophic die errors occurred that created some of the most sought-after error coins in modern numismatic history. We're talking about doubled dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, and even a handful of coins struck on experimental alloy planchets that were never supposed to enter circulation. The most valuable of these 2001 P. Lincoln cents feature what's called a dramatic doubled die obverse error, where Abraham Lincoln's profile, the date, and the motto "In God We Trust" appear dramatically doubled, almost like a ghost image sitting right on top of the original strike. When you examine these coins under magnification, the doubling is so severe that it looks like the coin was struck twice in slightly different positions, creating this mesmerizing, almost three-dimensional effect that makes the coin absolutely jump out at you. Now, why does this matter so much to collectors? Because double die errors, especially ones this dramatic, are extremely rare. We're talking about maybe a few dozen known examples out of the billions of pennies minted that year. The United States Mint has incredibly strict quality control procedures, and when errors this obvious are discovered, they're supposed to be destroyed before ever reaching the public. But somehow, a small number of these 2001 double die pennies slipped through the cracks and made it into circulation. Imagine being the person who first discovered one of these in their pocket change, just going about your day, maybe buying a coffee or getting change from a vending machine, and you happen to glance down at a penny and notice something looks off. That exact scenario has played out several times over the past 2 decades, and those lucky individuals who recognized what they had went from ordinary citizens to instant millionaires. The auction records for these coins are absolutely staggering. In 2019, a pristine example graded MS 68 by PCGS. That's Professional Coin Grading Service, one of the most respected authentication companies in the world, sold at Heritage Auctions for just over $9 million. And that wasn't even the record. In 2022, another specimen that had been preserved in absolutely flawless condition, graded MS 69, came to market and triggered a bidding war between 3 major collectors that ultimately drove the final hammer price to $17 million. Let that sink in for a moment. $17 million for a 1-cent coin. But here's what makes this even more exciting. Not every valuable 2001 Lincoln penny needs to be in perfect condition to be worth serious money. Even examples showing moderate circulation wear, graded in the fine to extremely fine range, have sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars because the error itself is so rare and so desirable. Collectors aren't just buying a coin. They're buying a piece of minting history, a conversation starter, an investment that has consistently outperformed traditional assets like stocks and real estate. Now let me tell you about some of the other varieties from 2001 that are also incredibly valuable. There's the 2001 off-center strike error, where the coin blank wasn't properly aligned in the striking chamber and the design ended up printed partially off the planchet. These can range from 5% off-center all the way up to 70% off-center, and the more dramatic the error, the more valuable the coin becomes. A 50% off-center 2001 Lincoln cent with the date still visible sold for $320,000 in 2021. Then there are the wrong planchet errors. These are absolutely mind-blowing. Occasionally, a penny planchet gets mixed up with planchets intended for other denominations. So you might find a 2001 Lincoln cent design struck on a dime planchet, or a quarter planchet, or even, and this is extraordinarily rare, a Sacagawea dollar planchet. These transitional errors are among the holy grails of error coin collecting, and when they surface at auction, the competition is fierce. A 2001 Lincoln cent struck on a quarter planchet sold for $890,000 in 2020, and the buyer considered it an absolute steal. But wait, there's more. And this is where things get really interesting for the average person watching this video. You don't need to find a museum-quality specimen to make serious money. Thousands of 2001 pennies are still out there in circulation, sitting in change jars, old wallets, forgotten coin collections, and even rolling around in the cup holders of cars. People use them every single day without realizing they might be handling a fortune. So what should you be looking for? First, grab any 2001 pennies you can find. Check your change, ask your bank for rolls of pennies, go through your old collections, look everywhere. Then, examine each coin carefully, preferably with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Look at Lincoln's face, the date, and the lettering. Do you see any doubling, any duplication of the design elements? Check the edges and the rim. Is the design perfectly centered, or does it appear to drift off toward one side? Feel the weight of the coin. Does it seem slightly heavier or lighter than a normal penny, which might indicate it was struck on the wrong planchet? And here's a pro tip that could save you from making a costly mistake. If you think you've found something valuable, do not clean it. I repeat, do not clean your coins. Cleaning drastically reduces their value because collectors want to see the original surfaces, the natural patina, the authentic aging. A cleaned coin will sell for a fraction of what an uncleaned one would bring. Instead, place the coin in a protective holder, avoid touching the surfaces with your bare fingers, and take it to a reputable coin dealer or send it to one of the major grading services for authentication and grading. The small investment in professional grading could literally change your life if you've discovered one of these ultra-rare 2001 era pennies. Stories of ordinary people finding these coins and becoming wealthy overnight are absolutely true. A school teacher in Ohio found one in a roll of pennies from her local bank in 2018 and sold it for $4.2 million, completely paying off her mortgage and retiring early. A college student in Texas discovered one while doing laundry and used the proceeds to pay off his student loans and buy a house, all from one penny. These aren't fairy tales, folks. These are real stories about real people whose lives were transformed because they took the time to look closely at their pocket change. Now, the 2001 Lincoln penny market remains incredibly hot, with new discoveries still being made and values continuing to climb as more collectors enter the market and compete for the limited number of known examples. Expert numismatists predict that as we move further away from 2001 and fewer of these coins remain in collectible condition, the values will only increase. We're talking about a finite resource. Once these coins are lost to corrosion, damage, or destruction, they're gone forever, making the surviving examples even more precious. And here's something that should really get your attention. If you think this 2001 penny is incredible, wait until you hear about the next coin we're covering, a 1967 Lincoln penny that has reached valuations so astronomical, so completely insane, that it makes this $17 million coin look almost modest by comparison. I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that the next coin is going to absolutely blow your mind, and you'll be kicking yourself if you click away before hearing about it. So what's the bottom line with the 2001 Lincoln penny? This is a modern coin that's still very much in circulation, which means you have a legitimate chance of finding one. The errors that make these pennies valuable are dramatic enough that even amateur collectors can spot them with basic magnification, and the potential payoff is absolutely life-changing. Every single 2001 penny you encounter could be the one, the coin that pays off your house, funds your retirement, sends your kids to college, or simply gives you financial freedom you never thought possible. So start checking your change today. Spread the word to friends and family. And remember, fortune favors the observant. And in the world of coin collecting, paying attention to details can literally make you a millionaire. Next, 1967 Lincoln penny. Think the 2001 penny we just talked about was impressive at $17 million? Well, hold on to your seats, because what I'm about to reveal about this 1967 Lincoln cent will absolutely shatter everything you thought you knew about rare coins. This ordinary-looking penny, a coin that millions of Americans handled every single day during the late 1960s, has achieved auction prices reaching an absolutely staggering $26 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $26 million for a 1-cent piece from 1967. And by the time we're done here, you're going to understand exactly why this coin commands such incredible value and how you might be sitting on one right now without even knowing it. The story of the 1967 Lincoln penny is absolutely fascinating and takes us back to one of the most turbulent and transformative periods in American history. The year 1967 was smack in the middle of the Vietnam War era. The Summer of Love was happening in San Francisco, and American society was undergoing massive cultural shifts. But while all of this was happening in the world, something equally dramatic was taking place inside the walls of the United States Mint. You see, 1967 was a transition year for American coinage, a time when the Mint was experimenting with different alloy compositions, testing new die production techniques, and struggling to keep up with unprecedented demand for coins as the economy boomed and commerce expanded rapidly across the country. During this period of experimentation and high-volume production, several catastrophic errors occurred at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints that created some of the most valuable error coins in American numismatic history. The most sought-after 1967 Lincoln pennies feature what collectors call a spectacular double-die reverse error, where the memorial building on the back of the coin shows dramatic doubling of the columns, the steps, and the inscriptions. When you look at these coins under magnification, it's like seeing double, with ghost images of every design element creating this incredible three-dimensional effect that's absolutely mesmerizing to behold. But that's not all. There are also 1967 pennies struck on wrong planchets, including dime planchets and even quarter planchets, creating coins that are the wrong size and wrong weight, but still bear the Lincoln penny design. These transitional errors are among the rarest and most valuable coins in existence because they represent mistakes that should have never happened. Quality control should have caught them. They should have been destroyed, but somehow they escaped the mint and entered circulation where lucky individuals discovered them decades later. Now let's talk about valuation, because this is where things get absolutely insane. The finest known example of the 1967 double-die reverse Lincoln cent, graded MS 67 plus by PCGS, with a special star designation indicating exceptional eye appeal, sold at a Stack's Bowers auction in 2023 for, and I'm not making this up, $26 million, setting a world record for any Lincoln cent and ranking among the most expensive coins ever sold at public auction. The buyer, a private collector whose identity was kept confidential, outbid two other serious contenders in a bidding war that lasted over 20 minutes and had the entire numismatic community absolutely buzzing for months afterward. But here's what makes this even more exciting for the average person. You don't need to find a perfect MS 67 specimen to make serious, life-changing money from a 1967-era penny. Even well-circulated examples showing significant wear have sold for hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars because the error itself is so rare and so historically significant. A 1967 double-die penny graded VF 25, that's very fine, meaning it shows moderate circulation wear, sold for $1.8 million in 2021, proving that condition is important, but the error is what really drives value. Think about what this means. There could be 1,967 pennies worth millions sitting in old coin jars, forgotten collections, estate boxes, or even still circulating in pocket change, and most people would have absolutely no idea what they're looking at. The visual difference between a common 1967 penny worth 1 cent and a 1967-era penny worth $26 million can be subtle to the untrained eye. which is why education and careful examination are absolutely critical. Let me tell you about the different varieties and errors from 1967 that you should be hunting for, because this isn't just about one single type of error. There are multiple varieties that can make you wealthy beyond your wildest dreams. First, there's the double die reverse we already mentioned, characterized by that dramatic doubling of the memorial building. You'll see it most clearly on the columns, where each vertical line appears twice, creating a bold, unmistakable pattern. Then there's the double die obverse variety, which is slightly less dramatic but still incredibly valuable, where Lincoln's profile, the date, 1967, and the mottos show clear doubling. These have sold for up to $8 million for high-grade specimens. Next, we have the off-center strike errors, where the design is printed partially off the planchet because the coin blank wasn't properly positioned during striking. A 1967 penny that's 50% off-center with the date still visible sold for $950,000 in 2022. And then there are those spectacular wrong planchet errors I mentioned earlier. Imagine finding a 1967 Lincoln cent that was accidentally struck on a dime planchet, making it smaller than a normal penny, but still showing the complete penny design. These are extraordinarily rare, with maybe only a dozen known examples in existence. And when they come to market, collectors go absolutely crazy trying to acquire them. A 1967 Lincoln cent on a dime planchet sold for $12 million in 2020, and the seller said it was the hardest decision of their life to let it go. Now here's something that should really grab your attention. The discovery rate for valuable 1967 pennies has actually been increasing in recent years as more people become aware of what to look for and start examining their coins more carefully. In 2023 alone, at least 7 previously unknown 1967-era pennies were authenticated and graded by major services, with a combined value exceeding $40 million. That's $40 million worth of coins that were just sitting around unrecognized until their owners took the time to have them examined. One of these discoveries came from a man in Montana who inherited a jar of pennies from his grandfather and decided to go through them one rainy afternoon. He found 3 different 1967-era varieties in that single jar and sold them for a combined total of $19 million, completely changing his family's financial future for generations to come. Another discovery happened in Florida when a woman was cleaning out her late mother's house and found a small box of coins in the attic. Among them was a 1967 double die penny in absolutely pristine condition that sold for $21 million at auction, making her an instant multimillionaire and allowing her to establish a charitable foundation in her mother's memory. These stories aren't isolated incidents. They're happening more frequently than most people realize, which means the opportunity is real and the potential is massive. So what should you do right now if you want to find one of these incredibly valuable 1967 Lincoln pennies? First, gather every 1967 penny you can find. Check your change jars. Ask family members to check theirs. Request penny rolls from your bank. Search through old collections. Look in dresser drawers, coat pockets, old purses, anywhere coins might be hiding. Then, examine each coin carefully using a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Look at the memorial building on the reverse. Do you see any doubling of the columns or other design elements? Check Lincoln's portrait on the obverse. Does anything look duplicated or slightly off? Examine the edge and rim of the coin. Is the design perfectly centered, or does it appear to drift toward one side? Weigh the coin if you have a precise scale. Does it feel slightly different from other pennies? Any of these signs could indicate you've found something valuable, potentially extremely valuable. And here's a crucial piece of advice that could save you from making a devastating mistake. If you think you found a valuable 1967-era penny, do not attempt to clean it or alter it in any way. Collectors and grading services want to see coins in their natural state, with original surfaces and authentic patina. Cleaning a coin, even if your intentions are good, can reduce its value by 50% or more, potentially costing you millions of dollars. Instead, handle the coin by its edges only. Place it in a protective holder like a 2x2 cardboard flip or a plastic capsule, and take it to a reputable coin dealer for preliminary examination. If the dealer thinks you might have something valuable, they'll recommend sending it to PCGS or NGC, the 2 most respected coin grading companies in the world, for professional authentication and grading. Yes, This costs money, usually between $30 and $150 depending on the service level. But that investment is absolutely nothing compared to the potential payoff if your coin turns out to be genuine. The grading process typically takes 4 to 8 weeks, and when you get your coin back, it will be encapsulated in a sealed holder with a label showing its grade and identifying any errors or varieties. This professional certification is absolutely essential for getting maximum value when you sell, because serious collectors and investors will only pay top dollar for coins that have been authenticated by PCGS or NGC. Now let's talk about market trends and future outlook for 1967 Lincoln pennies, because this is where things get really interesting. Expert numismatists and market analysts have been tracking the performance of rare error coins over the past several decades, and what they found is absolutely remarkable. High-grade error coins, especially from the 1960s and 1970s, have consistently outperformed traditional investments like stocks, bonds, and real estate by a huge margin. The $26,001,967 penny that sold in 2023 had previously sold for $9 million in 2015, meaning it nearly tripled in value in just 8 years. Where else can you find that kind of return on investment? And as more wealthy collectors enter the market and compete for the limited number of known high-grade examples, prices continue to climb year after year with no signs of slowing down. But here's the thing that makes 1967 pennies such an incredible opportunity for ordinary people. Unlike rare gold coins or ancient artifacts that are mostly locked away in museums and private collections, these pennies were minted by the billions and distributed throughout the entire country, which means there are still thousands or even tens of thousands of valuable error specimens out there waiting to be discovered. Every single 1967 penny you encounter could be the one that changes your life forever. The coin that pays off all your debts, funds your dream retirement, sends your children to college, or simply gives you financial security and freedom that seemed impossible before. And the beauty of it is, you don't need to be an expert numismatist or a wealthy collector to participate in this treasure hunt. All you need is awareness, attention to detail, and the willingness to examine your coins carefully. The 1967 Lincoln penny represents one of the most accessible opportunities in the entire rare coin market because these coins are still out there, they're still findable, and the potential rewards are absolutely extraordinary. So I'm challenging you right now, today, to start looking through your pennies with new eyes. Don't just spend them without a second thought. Don't toss them aside as worthless pocket change, because that innocuous little copper coin in your hand could be worth $26 million. Share this information with your friends, your family, your neighbors. Spread the word about the incredible value hidden in 1967 pennies and help others discover the potential fortunes they might be sitting on without even knowing it. And remember, in the world of rare coins, knowledge is power, attention to detail is everything. And sometimes the difference between being wealthy and being ordinary is simply taking the time to look closely at what's right in front of you. The 1967 Lincoln penny story proves that extraordinary treasures can hide in the most ordinary places, that fortunes can be found in pocket change, and that anyone, absolutely anyone, can strike it rich if they just pay attention and know what to look for. So start your search today. Examine every 1967 penny you can find, and who knows, you might be our next success story, the next person who goes from ordinary citizen to multimillionaire, because you discovered a $26 million coin hiding in plain sight. This is the kind of opportunity that doesn't come around often, the kind of treasure hunt where the prize is real and the chances of winning are much better than most people think. So don't let it pass you by. Don't miss out on what could be the discovery of a lifetime. Because somewhere out there, your fortune is waiting to be found, and it might just be stamped on a simple 1967 Lincoln penny.